Okay, I've just brought the starter out of the oven where it has been proofing at 100 degrees for an hour, and you can see that our 40% is now up to, it's at least doubled in size, and it's nice and frothy. It's got lots of bubbles in it. That means that the yeast in the starter is working very actively, and that's what you want. It's at the height of its activity right now. So I guess I'd better get a bowl out to put that in. Okay, we're going to put 2 cups of all-purpose flour, combined with 1 cup of whole wheat flour. That's just the blend I like. You may like all white bread. The 1 cup of whole wheat makes it a nice light whole wheat bread for me, which is what I like. That looks like about 2 cups right there. Need to get the whole wheat flour. So once again, we have 2 cups of white flour and 1 cup of whole wheat. It's right at the 3-cup line. Looks good to me. Put it in my mixing bowl. Now I'm going to put some sea salt, 1½ teaspoons of sea salt in it. Yeah, don't need that. Okay, I'm going to mix that together. The idea is you want to get the white and the whole wheat well mixed together, and of course the salt as well. Okay, that's good enough for me. Okay, now I'm going to pour out a little over a cup. This is inexact, it's not a critical thing, but I'd say that's like 1 cup and 1/8 of starter in there. Okay, and then I'm going to add about 1 cup of water at room temperature water. Okay, now I mix this up. This ends up being what they call a high hydration dough. More water in it than you normally have for bread dough. And that's part of the secret why you can get away without kneading the bread. It is able to, with the added water, it's able to do the chemical processing of the gluten in the flour without having to be stretched by physical kneading. And as you mix this up, you want it to be you don't want it to be too dry, and like an average loaf of bread that you might mix in a KitchenAid mixer or however that you knead by hand is a drier loaf than you're going to be working with here. And all I'm doing is getting the starter and the water mixed in there with the flour, pushing it down. Then once I have this put together, which it almost is at this point, okay, that's it on the mixing part. Oh wow. Sounds like Mama just pulled in the ground. Okay, I'm going to cover that. This is kind of a handy thing. This bowl comes with a plastic lid that fits on securely, which is kind of nice for proofing the dough. Now it's going into the oven, which is still warm from proofing the starter, and it's still at around 100 degrees, so that's what I want. And I set the timer for an hour and a half, and an hour and a half from now I'll pop it out and show you what we do with it then, which is just a simple turn it over, push it down, and pop it back in the oven. So that's it for step one. There's the timer. Our bread's ready to come out for its first turning. You can see that it hasn't really risen much, but it's gotten a little pliable and it's sticky, and that's just the right consistency. So now we just fold it over on top of itself. I'm using a rubber spatula. And the idea is just to push the little bit of air that's in it right now out. Okay, that's it. Looks like that. Lid back on. Back in the oven. With the temperature, I'm going to rewarm the oven just a little bit to make sure that it's up close to 100. So one more hour and we'll finish the second rising, and we do what we just did now, we do it once more. So see you in an hour. Our bread is risen for another hour and ready to come out to be turned again. It was a lot puffier this time. Okay. ready to go back in, and this time we're putting the pot in with it to warm up. So we'll get back with it in an hour. Okay, the timer just went off. I've got my parchment paper ready. Push it down again. I just scoop it off the sides and turn it into the middle, into kind of a ball. Now I need to get the pot out of the oven. Put the parchment paper in the pot. Just press it in. And it's not very tidy. Now I'm going to scoop the ball of dough out of the bowl into the pot. Usually it falls as one big ball. Push it down. And it sticks to the paper, but that is just temporary. Once it bakes, it unsticks. Now I'm going to put a slice in it. If I don't put a slice, it'll crack every which way, which it sometimes does anyhow. But I'm going to put the slice in for good measure. I've got some warm water in this spray bottle. I'm going to squirt the top. This isn't a necessary step. I just kind of like to do this. If this is a bag of wheat bran, and I sprinkle some on the top, just gives it a nice look and texture, and plus it tastes good. I have a 100-year supply of wheat bran here. Okay, the pot goes on, the lid goes on the pot, and back into the oven. The oven's cooled off a little bit, so I'm getting it back up to 100 degrees. It's going to rise inside the pot for 35 minutes. And at that time I'll take it out and then turn the oven up to 400 degrees. And I don't open the lid on the pot. because I don't want to disturb the loaf, which is risen now and is kind of delicate, and let the oven temperature get up to 400 degrees, then pop the pot back in there and bake it for 55 minutes with the lid on, and then take the lid off and bake it another 5 or 6 minutes just to finish browning the top. That's just a thing by eye appeal, whatever looks good to you, however brown you like the top of your bread. It's really done at the end of 55 minutes except for that browning. So that's kind of it until 35 minutes when we take it out again and let the temperature of the oven get up to 400 degrees. So see you then. All right, the timer has just gone off, meaning the oven is up to temperature. It's at 400 degrees, so in goes the bread. Okay, the 55 minutes is up, and we're going to take the lid off now. That's what it looks like. At this point, I want to brown it a little more. So I'm going to give it 6 minutes to brown. Okay, the 6 minutes is up, and it's time to take the bread out of the oven. So it's about like I like it. And there is our sourdough bread, all finished and ready to cool and then slice and eat. I'm going to slice the loaf open and show you what the texture looks like on the inside. By the way, the crust is hard on this. If you leave the lid off of the pan, it'll give you a soft crust, but I like the hard crust. That's what it looks like cut open. I'm going to slice some slices on the deli slicer. Still pretty warm. So that's pretty much how I do the sourdough bread. I hope that answers any questions you have, and if you have any that aren't answered in the video, just email me and I'll be happy to help any way I can. Over and out.